And now we're recording. So Veronika.
Hey, thank you. All right, so this piece of our webinar is going to be on around online marketing and for e-commerce and selling on Facebook and Instagram. As you can imagine, we could talk about that for days too. So I'm going to give you a good overview. And again, if you're interested in one-on-one consulting, there is an email for me. You do have to register as a client to the SBDC. Advice is free to you through the SBDC, which is awesome. And we're going to share that link as well. Okay, so let's jump right in because we have lots to talk about. And I will also take your questions since there is just so many things that there might be some questions that will help everybody. Okay. If we have anybody new, I've been in e-commerce for, it seems forever, 20 years of e-commerce experience, 20 years of digital marketing. I come from video gaming. I have my own small business. I've worked for the SBDC as an advisor here in the capital region and as NorCal advisor for, I think more than 4 years. And I've worked with over 400 different businesses, and I bet it's probably close to 500 now. So my expertise is e-commerce and online marketing. So let's jump right in. I hope that you have followed us earlier and so you know kind of leading up to this. So what I want to tell you about the Instagram and the Facebook stores. So we've updated these slides multiple times over the last couple of months because it is an absolute moving target. So to give you some background information, because it is so moving and so fluid, Instagram started with selling on Instagram a couple years ago, but they wouldn't allow everybody to sell on Instagram. You had to have a product and you had to have a certain amount of followers on your Instagram page to even have a product tag on your images. A product tag at that point meant that you could tie your Shopify store. They only allowed Shopify at this point, and now they've opened it up to other e-commerce solutions. But you can have a tag on your image where it says, you know, buy now. Like here you can see some tags on this image here. And then they also decided that they would allow people to have actually a store on Instagram, right? So there is store functionalities. You can build a store and then people can check out through the app. The reason why I'm giving you only a like a bird's eye view is because they change the parameter who gets to sell on Instagram or not all the time. So there was at one point you had to have 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers on Instagram to have a store. They dropped that altogether. Then everybody was able to have a store. Then they put it back on. So you need to check like what the parameter is and if this is something that you are qualifying for. It's actually there is Instagram for Business, and you can read up what the current parameters are. What it used to be is that you had to be a business within the US, that you can sell only physical goods. So if you have a service, you couldn't sell it. Now, I heard that they were trying to change that, but they haven't done so. As all of you, I'm sure know, Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company. So a lot of times that rolls over, right? Like Facebook is also only allowing physical goods in their actual store. You have to comply with their commerce policies of Facebook, which applies to both Instagram and Facebook. They're also online. You can Google it. They're really easy to find. You can read through it. In order to do that, you have to have a business profile and a business page on both Instagram and Facebook. And I believe they also make you use the business manager. So there's a couple of moving parts to that, but I think there's definitely opportunity because we see more and more people purchasing from their phones. And it's an easy, like if you qualify for it, it's actually easy to set up and get it running and start selling. So Instagram saw that more and more people are using Instagram to make purchases. So you see a lot of apps. If you're on Instagram, you've seen a lot of apps where you can actually buy and pay right there. They all go, they all check out very differently. You can use, I believe that's already live, their in-app checkout, or you can tie it to you can go to your website, you can go to Shopify. I've purchased on Instagram before, and it was actually super easy. And the cool thing about this is the way that we are currently using our phones. I know people that use their phones for everything, right? So the reason why I actually did an Instagram purchase is I was somewhere with a friend and she was talking, like she saw somebody else who was talking to them, and I'm like, you go. And I was on Instagram, I was like, oh, I've been wanting to buy this. And I think I got like 10 minutes. All right. So I bought it and it was super easy. And I was like, wow. And then when you do it once, you can obviously, do it again and again. But again, like this one is a moving target. They still try to figure out like how they fit in. As we know, between Google and Amazon and Facebook, am I missing anybody else? They're always competing, right? Like they know that that e-commerce is important. So everybody wants to have a slice of this. And there's also Google stores now. Now, they may not be as frequented yet, but that could also change. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You need to pay attention to what's trending. Google could easily take over some of these functionalities in Google that people are going to frequent Google, the Google store more, right? So this is also something that you should check into for your own products. Facebook store, very similar. There are some shipping requirements. This could be changing. So the last time that we updated the slide, which I think was like a beginning of the year, you had to ship within 3 days. You had to offer tracking and delivery info. And the customer needed to receive their order within 10 days after placing it. Facebook and also Instagram, obviously, if you use their checkout, there is a transaction fee on that. In this segment, we're talking about online marketing, and social is obviously a big part of this. So this is, again, being closest to your customer. So they don't have to go anywhere else to purchase. They're already in social, in the app, on Instagram, or on the, on their desktop or their laptop, on Facebook or their app, and they can purchase from right there. So definitely something to consider. And I should probably at one point add a Google store slide. So it's actually really straightforward. We were able to set up clients' Facebook, Instagram stores within like an hour. So they connect to Shopify or BigCommerce, and I think they opened this up to WooCommerce now. You do have to use the Facebook Business Manager. That one, if you have a business page, that is available to you. It's actually pretty cool because you can run ads from that too. Like we're going to talk about that. You have to have Facebook and Instagram connected, and it's just a verification who you are. So I've heard lately that it's been actually pretty cumbersome to start a Facebook page. We had a client who we were setting up a business page for them, and she had to show her ID card. So we had to upload verification who she is. So we see this also changing all the time because of, the abuse. So Facebook and Instagram, they're trying to crack down on certain behavior on their apps. So that's why we're seeing that. It's really, a lot of this is to protect us, protect the consumer. Yeah, so there's posts that are shoppable, which means you can add those tags. Because a lot of times what you see on Instagram, for example, are ads. So there is a difference between a post and an ad. A post is actually a post on the page, and an ad is not necessarily, an ad is not posted on the page. It's an ad that is out there, targeting your audience. So that's the difference. You can boost posts. You see this all the time. Yeah, so here's a couple things that you should be thinking about when you, when you have those Instagram and Facebook stores up. You should optimize your business profile. You should really fill out everything that you can. Use stories. There's a lot of brands that sell within stories on Instagram. And there are also Facebook stories. Stories started in Instagram. People are using the stories on Facebook. They're not as frequented as they are on Instagram, but it can never hurt to be everywhere, right? Direct your users to link in bio is possible. It's not the sleekest thing to do because people then have to find the bio, find the link, go to the link, go to your store, right? With everything, we always lose people the more clicks away they are. You can boost posts or you can run ads. I just talked about that. Yeah, and have a good hashtag strategy. We talk about hashtag strategy all the time for our clients. It's super important. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Does anybody have any questions? And we might actually be ready for like that first poll, Ellen. Nice. So how do you market your online store?
I've been talking with the mute turned on. So
I know, but it just magically popped up. So I was just running with it, Ellen.
So you have while that's going, I'm gonna throw the first question at you, which is it possible to link a photo on your Instagram account to the product image on your own website?
No, but you can use the product tag. So if you have an e-commerce solution, which if you're selling something, you would have that. Let's say you use Shopify. There's Shopify product tags that is a direct tag to the Shopify store. So you can't on Instagram have links to websites, but you can use product tags. And I believe BigCommerce and WooCommerce offer product tags and are permitted by Instagram. So you might have Wix, for example, you might have Squarespace and they don't have product tags. It's usually not because of them, it's because Instagram doesn't allow that. So it's either or who is not connecting. So that's why, I always like to choose e-commerce solution based on the possibilities that they give me.
Okay, and so we had, I have previously tried to look at options for shipping besides Amazon because I've heard so much about worker mistreatment. I'm unsure how to research the different options that come up with come up when I Google them. So that's the question from the last session.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, and I think, like, didn't we talk about that? Yeah, I mean, there's different ways that you can ship, for sure. I mean, you can ship it yourself, and then you can use UPS or FedEx or, you know, what works the best for you. It also depends on your product and where you're shipping it.
okay.
There's lots of research that goes into shipping because of the cost involved.
Sure. So back onto this session, running paid ads. I heard the amount of money needed to run Instagram or Facebook ads and actually get traction is just huge, they heard.
So what did they hear? That paid ads get lots of...
I heard that the amount of money needed to run Instagram or Facebook ads and actually get any traction is just huge.
So I would completely disagree here.
Yeah.
If you look at the difference between running Google ads and social media ads, which in this regard, we're talking about Facebook and Instagram, there's a huge difference. It is so much, you can reach so many more people targeted on Facebook and Instagram with a lower ad budget. So we have reached people and gotten leads and sales for clients with as little as $100. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to run an ad. It's very strategic. But if you have a good ad running that actually targets your audience and you're very focused, you can start with, like, I think the minimum is $100 right now. At one point, I think it was 50. Now it's $100. You put $100 down and you can tell it, I only want to spend $5 a day or something like that, right? It is also like what you think success is. If you want to sell thousands in a day, you're going to have to put some more towards that budget. So I think it's all relative. But I don't think we will ever see online ads as inexpensive as they are currently on social, like ever again. This is a changing time. And online is becoming, like, it's so much more important today than it was 2 months ago. So we're going to see the price of those ads go up. I'm convinced of that. But try it out. It is actually not that expensive as you think.
I'm gonna end the poll and share the results with everybody.
All right. So you are marketing social. That's awesome.
So yeah, so 57% of people answered the question, how do you market your online store using the big three? So Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. 11% are using influencer marketing. 33% are using paid ads, and 28% are doing no marketing at all.
Okay. All right. Well, you've come to the right place.
Do you want the other online e-commerce question up there, or no? It's probably that comes up in a minute.
Yeah, let's do that one later.
Okay. So there are some other questions, a whole bunch of other questions. So
okay.
Find one I think would be.
No, it's like, I think this one is a good one to talk about these questions. Go ahead.
So let's
ask a few more.
So there was somebody asked to please explain how the hashtag works. Is that general or?
Yeah. So yeah, no, I want to talk about this a little bit anyway because it is very, very important. Hashtags are important, especially on Instagram, on Twitter, even LinkedIn. So the reason why it's important is because, so for example, on Instagram, people do follow hashtags. So think about the opportunity. Let's say you have people who are your ideal clients and customers, and they're not following your page. They don't even know who you are, but they're following hashtags. So the question is like, what are they interested in? Again, that goes back to ideal client and ideal customer. That's why that exercise is so important. So who are they? What are they interested in? Where do they live online? Let's say that your ideal customer is mostly on Instagram, right? So who are they? So what would they be, what kind of hashtags would they be following? They obviously want your product. So I look at hashtags strategically. And this is really bird's eye view a little bit, because everybody's going to have a different strategy. I don't know if you follow hashtags. I do follow hashtags. The way that people select hashtags is, it could seem random, but think about it. Like, if there's a hashtag that has 3 posts, you're never going to follow something that's not popular, right? You're gonna think like, what are those 3 posts? Like, okay, so that's not a hashtag I want to follow. Then this is not a hashtag you want to be using. Let's say there's a hashtag that has millions of posts. Let's say the hashtag California. If you follow that hashtag, you're gonna get millions of posts. So you're not gonna want to follow that, right? Because then all you're gonna see in your feed is California hashtags, right? So think about it from your customer and from the user of Instagram. The ones that you do want to add are the hashtags that are very specific and that have like a few thousand to 10,000s of posts. So that means people are following that hashtag. There's people posting on those hashtags, right? So it is an active hashtag. I would also caution you to follow hashtags that you are not familiar with. And I'm not even talking about the word. Like, click on the hashtag and see how the hashtag is used. You might click on the hashtag and say like, whoa, I don't want my product to be under this hashtag, because this is not even what I'm advocating. Like, I don't even know where I'm at. That happens all the time. Remember that also some hashtags that sound positive are actually negative. So what we usually do for our clients is we use 5 strategic hashtags. That is where their post should be showing up. That's how they get more likes. That's how they get more followers. And there could be people who only like their posts, but they will never follow their page. So sometimes you have these posts where they have thousands of likes and they don't even have that many followers. Well, because they obviously have a really good hashtag strategy, and there's people on those hashtags that actually like their posts. If you get lots of attention on your posts through those hashtags, Instagram would feature you on their featured side. So it's very, very important. And I can, if you have any questions around hashtags, email me under my email address and we'll help you figure out your strategic hashtags.
So couple of questions around Pinterest.
Oh, okay.
And a few other things. So the one was, how can I link and use Pinterest for business? And there was another one, what do you think about selling on Pinterest?
So if the answer is actually not that complicated. If you think that your ideal customer is on Pinterest, there's actually ideal customers that the majority of them are on Pinterest. Should you be selling there? Yes, of course. I believe that currently, so Pinterest has been like off and on with their selling and ads because that's not really what their focus is. However, I believe that you can sell with a product tag, right? So this is also something that changes all the time. I did not include Pinterest in this presentation, but it's very much the same principle. Like, check out like what they're currently allowing. And I also believe that no matter what social platform, they will all make adjustments or have already made adjustments to fit into this current digital world. So yeah, if they're on Pinterest, if your ideal customer is on Pinterest, there's no question you should be selling on Pinterest.
And then coming back to Facebook, there's a couple of questions around the use of Facebook. So one was, we tried some Facebook ads in the last couple of weeks. Don't know how to decide where, to who, how much, and how many days to run them. And there's a couple more about how to create a business page on Facebook and linking Facebook and Instagram posts. But the hashtags only showed up on Facebook, which is what they didn't want.
Yeah, so that is something that you would have to do manually, that you could go into Facebook and delete your hashtags. Unfortunately, like, we cannot control what happens within the within the platform, right? That is what Instagram and Facebook allow. That's why you see a lot of times these hashtag strategies on Facebook where I was like, that seems so out of context. And it's because they haven't cleaned up their posts. Ideally, and I can give you a tip, ideally you use a scheduling tool. There are social media scheduling tools out there where you can create the same post for Instagram and for Facebook separately. So obviously the one would have hashtags, the other one wouldn't have hashtags, right? I think HubSpot is free for so many accounts. I think Buffer has a fee to it. We use Sprout Social, which we love. It has a little bit of a heftier price tag. So you have to make a decision on that. But yeah, it is very obvious that you're pushing from Instagram to Facebook if the hashtags are still there. On ads, I mean, this is one of the challenges, right? Like, ads work really, really well if you have figured all this out. So going through some of these, and I hope that you are somebody who has been with us since this morning. If you have figured out your ideal customer, you know what demographic, like all these questions that I had on that slide, those are really similar questions what they're asking you in the Facebook ads, who your demographic is. So it will make it much easier. If you do not have the answers to those yet, it's going to be much more difficult to make that decision. So I would urge you to do a whole exercise on that. And you can dial it in.
And if by any chance you were here for one of the early ones, we'll be posting videos on all of them and sending information out, probably on Monday, to everyone who registered for these sessions, to say where you can catch those videos from. A couple of other, as the questions grow as quickly as we can.
I know, and I have a couple more slides. Do you want to just hang on to the question and see if I'm answering any of those?
No, and then we'll catch up at the end.
Let's do that, right? Okay, so highlight stories, I mentioned that on the previous slide. These are stories where you can have the tags within the stories. You can have them in here. You can have them, so the stories would be running at the top of everybody's Instagram feed. So there's tons of opportunity there. And I would urge you also to be active on Instagram. Follow your favorite brands and see what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. That's how we, like, sometimes you learn, like, especially with things that are fluid all the time. You learn so much what others are doing. So this is sometimes how we learn. And we live marketing every day, all day, right? There's always somebody on my team who says, like, oh my gosh, have you seen this, this brand doing this? Like, this is amazing. shouldn't we be doing this for X and Y client, right? I mean, that's how, and, you know, I am sure we get looked at that as well. We have clients where it's like, oh, our competition said, you know, the marketing is like really amazing. So they could be copying some of that, like, wow, that's nothing we can help, right? So it's like learning all the time. And that's what you have to do in social. So influencer marketing. Oh, I did actually have the slide. I thought I didn't have the slide. So I want to talk a little bit about some very specific types of marketing that is amazing for e-commerce. So one is influencer marketing. And there are chief marketing officers that are saying that influencer marketing could be one of the most important ways to market your products and services in the coming years. So influencer marketing has changed a lot. And influencer marketing is obviously based on an influencer. So influencers are people who influence somebody's, like an audience decision on purchasing or using a product or service. That's who influencers are. And what most people don't know, and I really need to at one point put the link in here for this, but influencer marketing is actually something that is regulated by the federal government. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but the gist of the regulation is the influencer really had been using your product or service. So they cannot say that, oh, I love this product and, you know, I drink this coffee all the time. It makes me feel really good, blah, blah, blah. You should also be buying that, and never had that coffee before. So they cannot do that. And they have to be clear if they are receiving money for this. So influencers in general get paid for influencing their following, but it's not as easy as running an ad. You have to find first the right influencer for your product or service. And I know there's somebody who said that they use influencers. So to me, the most focused influencer marketing is with a very focused target audience. It doesn't need a huge follower base at all. But people need to be actually following and listening to these people. It's again, that whole broad, like talking to a broad audience with a broad message, or talking to a specific audience with a very focused message. So you don't need a Kardashian to influence the product, that, you know, the purchase of the product. But let's say you have a fitness product. There are influencers with a, you know, that have maybe like 500,000 follower base, but these people are so targeted that they love that influencer. They listen to that influencer's opinion. That influencer, when they recommend something, these people will follow. And if you have a fitness product that fits with that influencer, that just might be a beautiful thing. We do, like the influencers that we've worked with in the past, some pass on products. They're like, yeah, that's not for my audience. They know their audience better than we do. Or they would say, you know, well, you know, I can't support it, or, you know, or something like that, right? They do get to actually write their own copy. So we cannot tell an influencer legally what to say about the product. But this is a business, right? If influencers don't know these rules, you may want to stay away from them. So I follow I follow influencers on Instagram, for example, and I know exactly if it's an ad, if they got paid for it. So it says like, this is a sponsored message. This is an advertising, right? They are very clear on if they are making money of this. And it's honesty, right? It's transparency. That's what we're trying to do. Like online marketing is all about trust. Most of us don't trust online marketing or online advertising or websites. So if an influencer has our trust because they're telling us if they got paid for this, we're most likely to believe them. So it's like influencers are like it's amazing. It's amazing, yeah. Yeah, so most of them do get paid, and yeah, they, you know, they have a very personal preference. They, you know, an influencer has gotten in trouble. Like we know some famous influencers has gotten in trouble. So yeah, this is definitely an ever-changing marketing technique, but it's a super powerful one. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the ads. I think we're ready for the next poll question, Alan.
About how people find you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're getting lots of responses on there from
nice.
Lots of people.
Cool. And Alan, I have 20 more minutes. Is that true?
That's what it looks like.
Wow, time is flying. That's when we're having fun, right?
Yep. Okay, I think the responses are slowing down, so I'll give you a few more seconds to hit that button at the bottom and end the poll and show it. So in answer to the question, how do your customers find you? 60% of people are selling to their family and friends, closely followed by 57% on referrals, always a really key version. 45% through marketing, 26% through SEO, and 11% are saying simply that they don't.
So in all this is opportunities, right? If you're currently only selling to family and friends, there's an opportunity out there. You know, there's all these other people. Funny story, like my young e-commerce client, like initially he was only selling to family and friends. And I told him that we're going to do some online marketing through Instagram in his case. And I would consider him a real business when he sold to somebody who doesn't know him at all. So that was my joke. It was a goal for him, right? And he was super excited. And I said, you know, we're going to do this before the end of the year. And he actually did sell to somebody who didn't know him. And then we knew that Instagram marketing was working for him. So yeah, true story. Okay, great. So advertising. Years ago, I would have not said that advertising is the best way to reach your customers. And I have completely changed my mind because of the way that all these platforms, these social media platforms and Google are working. So we used to get businesses seen really well organically. And that's still possible with, for example, hashtags and such. right? And other strategies. But there is not one client that I have in my agency that would not benefit from paid ads. Because the way the platforms are set up nowadays is that organically, for example, on Facebook, it is really tough for a business to be seen on Facebook if you don't run ads or grow their audience. So ads should have a certain purpose. So what's the purpose of your ad? Is it to sell something? Do you want people to follow you? Do you want people to sign up for something? Do you want to know who these people are, right? And maybe you give them something for free so you can get their name and email address. So you have to figure out what you are, like what that goal is. And then knowing where your audience is looking for products like you or services that you're offering, that's how you're going to decide where you're going to run ads. For example, we have clients who are business to business and their ads do the best on LinkedIn. Then we have clients who have a much broader audience. So Google Ads is really an amazing tool for them because their clients are looking for on Google to find them. And then we have clients who are, their audience is on Instagram and Facebook. And so we run ads there. So again, you have to figure out where your audience lives, or Pinterest, like we heard earlier. There are ads that you can run on other platforms like Nextdoor, for example. So again, figuring out where to live. You can run ads on Amazon. So ads can be run anywhere. Again, it doesn't make sense to run an ad on Facebook if that's not where your ideal customers are. So that is like the first step. And then pick your audience. So you'll pick your audience based on what your ideal customer is. What's interesting about this is on Facebook, people tell you actually a lot of information. The same on Instagram. Google is more about your Google searches and like your habits on Google and what search terms you put in the search, right? It's a search ad. On LinkedIn, it's often about like what their professional background is, right? We know everything about them professionally, what they're telling us. So the good news is that we actually know a lot about these customers on these platforms. And that's been like controversial, but when you're running an ad, that's exactly what you want. You want to know everything about them. You want to know like what their marital status is. You want to know where they live. You want to know what other brands do they like. The more that you engage on social media, the more we know about you.
So if you're not paying for it and it's free, if you're not the paying customer, you're the product.
Yes, exactly. So, as much as we don't like that they know a lot about us, like when you're on the other end, you do want to know that, right? So we actually do. Like we can actually aggregate all that information. We can also do lookalike audiences. Like, for example, like on Facebook, when somebody's been running Facebook, Instagram ads, they've probably seen this. Like, do you want to use a lookalike audience? A lookalike audience means that you already know who your customers are. And you have that audience. These are my customers. They've already purchased from us. You then can tell, okay, this is not as easy as it sounds, but you can set it up so that Facebook will find people like that. I know it sounds creepy, but it works really well. We as advertisers, we love lookalike audiences. We already know who they are. So Facebook, show us more of those. And those are the ones we want to show our ad to. So for example, if you create an ad that is much more targeted to, women, then your audience is going to be women. I mean, this is probably as simplistic as it can be. Use analytics. So that means that you want to look at what is working, what's not. So I always suggest that you run a few different ads. But I also suggest that you don't change everything all the time. So let's say you pick an ad copy and 2 different images. Maybe one is a video. So you have 2 images, 2 different images and a video. So you run with the same ad copy, those 3. Pretty quickly, you're gonna find out what actually does best. So sometimes you'd be surprised. I've had a client, we were running ads, I'm like, oh, their video is awesome. I bet that is gonna be the most popular of the 3. Well, come to find out, there was one image that was so powerful. No matter where we used it, it got the most clicks. It performed the best. So what we did is like, wow, we need more images like that. Or we use that same image over and over. That's how we use analytics. So create an ad that performs. That also means that you just have to go in there and change things. So then the next thing we did is like, we used that image and we changed up the ad copy. So now we could see what ad copy with that image does the best. That's styling in your ad. That's what you do. You hear also a lot about people who say like, oh, ads don't work, which, as we know, cannot be true because ads actually do work. You just have to figure out the strategy behind it. And patience, you really have to delve into it. So if you think about, what marketing agencies like we do, we look at these ads every single day. And if you run your own ads, you need to be looking at those ads all the time. Know what's working, what's not. That's how we have analytics. And make changes and make tweaks. That's what I was just talking about. Know your analytics. This is really going back to our analytics slides. Instagram, Google Analytics, there's third-party tools. So these will all tell you a story about how your social does, how your ads are doing. They change all the time. This is a screenshot, I believe, from Instagram Insights. And again, they change all the time. They want, like Shopify has added so many more analytics, and so has Instagram and Facebook. So marketing strategy, we've been already talking about this, but I also want to make sure that you all understand that there's more than just the few that we talked about. YouTube is a great strategy. And it's actually a strategy for a lot of businesses, more than you would think. There's messenger marketing. You get ads through messengers. You have brands talking to you through messengers. So we're gonna see a lot more. And you can choose a lot more. Like, it's I know saying think outside the box is really what you need to do. It's like, where else should I be advertising or marketing? Should I be on Amazon? I actually have a client who has a SBDC client. He has an e-commerce store, and he doesn't have competition on Amazon. So he has his own e-commerce store, and he actually does super well. But then there's others where nobody's finding you. Why not be on Amazon? It's another marketing strategy. Be on the Google store. So affiliate marketing, how much time do I have? 7 minutes. So I want to talk about affiliate. You have okay. So give me a couple questions, then affiliate marketing is the last piece.
So there's a couple of rounds, several questions around influencers.
Okay.
So questions like what sort of commission do you pay percentages for influencers? How do you know that someone's an influencer? Um, how do you find someone who's a real influencer? Are there agencies that deal with influencers? Yeah.
Yeah, there are actually agencies that, marketing agencies that focus on influencer marketing.
Yeah.
And they help you find influencers and all that.
Yeah, that's grown a lot recently, hasn't it? But there's
yeah. We do influencer marketing as part of our offerings, because we believe that everybody should at least consider influencer marketing. How do you know who is a real influencer? That's actually a great question, because some time back I was working with a client, and they were telling me that they know all these influencers. And I'm like, wow, that's great, right? Like, you already know them, they're your target audience, they talk to your target audience, who are they? So we looked at the influencers, and they weren't influencers at all. They were just people on Instagram. So there is a big difference. Like, influencers don't just have a lot of friends. Those are not necessarily, or connections. Those are not necessarily influencers. Influencers have a message. They have very strategic posts. And you see when they're influencers, when they do have some ads running, or they have sponsored content. Go and look through their content that they're posting. When you come across an influencer, you can see then immediately the difference. They're also highly professional.
Yeah.
So you can see that they have a certain message that they have all the time. They're very organized. They're definitely, professional and ethical and all that.
I know. I know I have a friend who's the author of Influencer Marketing for Dummies.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
I would personally recommend that book, because she's been in that business for maybe 8-9 years. She basically she wrote the book on it. Other things, other questions off that concept.
I still need to talk about commission. So the commission really depends on the influencer, and direct message them and ask them. They might already have fees.
And also, how do you best navigate being associated with the appropriate audience? Because there's a certain negative influence around the concept of influencers.
Yeah, I think it definitely, to me, they have to be professionals, right? Like, they have to have otherwise you're associating yourself. That could be the biggest drawback. You're associating yourself with an influencer that you don't want to be associated with.
Okay.
If you feel uncomfortable, like, to me, that's also, there's something about intuition. If you feel uncomfortable, I was like, oh, I don't know about this person. Like, he or she sometimes says things that are not quite appropriate. Walk away. Seriously, like, walk away.
So a question around some of the analytics. Amanda says, have you found any of your clients being impacted by the changing in analytics? For example, they've got 25,000 followers on Instagram, but noticed a big drop in engagement from around 300 to 500 likes now instead of 1,500 plus.
Yeah, it depends on like what they changed. I would always like ask myself the questions like, what changed? Was it something that they changed? Is it something that, Instagram or Facebook changed?
Okay.
Right? It really, really depends. It starts with the answer to what has changed. A lot of times is what they have changed. So do they have a lot of like fake followers? That happens.
Yeah.
Right? And then, like, for example, Twitter had closed a lot of fake profiles. And then you could go down like a lot. There's nothing you could do, but the fake followers weren't going to give you any sales anyway. Yeah. So I'm not saying that that's what it is, but there's a lot of different components that would go into that. But if it's a question about their own business, you know, email me and I'll see what I can see and ask you some questions that, you know, answering would help you.
I've got a whole bunch of leftover questions, but I think you've got like a minute, so if you want to
cover. Oh yeah. So affiliate marketing, if you're not familiar with that, one of the best examples is Amazon. So Amazon has an affiliate marketing program. You can do this yourself. There are apps for everything. But for example, like if you had your product on Amazon, affiliates, who are people who are selling your product on your behalf, could get links. When they sell something, they get a commission. So you see that often with people who write articles. So there could be experts on microbrew beer, and they write blogs about microbrew. And in there, they have an affiliate link that says, you know, something like, oh, and then there is this, you know, a microbrewery in Oregon, blah, 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 you know, and then you can click on that link. So that link then gets you to buy that product. It could be maybe they're writing a review on toasters, and then they list 5 toasters, and they all have links. So you see these all the time. That's really affiliate marketing. There are affiliate marketing networks out there. You can find them by Googling. Many of them have actually Facebook groups, and they sell on your behalf. So they're sending sales to you, but you give them a percentage. It's like a sales commission. A lot of affiliate marketers actually do really, really well. So if this is something that you're interested in, there are ways to find them. Like if there's blogs that are very that are associated with your product, and you see that they have links in it, I mean, you can always contact them. Or, you know, sometimes they pick up, you might actually see that's like, oh, I'm getting like some traffic on Amazon for my product. I don't even know who these people are. And they picked up the links through Amazon because they have a great program already set up. So wow, we're at the end again. The time is flying.
Yeah, we do have
one more, right? One more
session. So I will pull off all the unanswered questions and make sure that Veronika gets them, and she'll be able to respond. If I think one or two people put in their questions anonymously, if you do that, we won't be able to respond to you because we don't know who you are.
Sure. So, yeah, you can always email me at eCommerce@jumpstartnow.com. You need to become a SBDC client. There is the link here for that. And yeah, Ellen, are we sharing the Google form?
When do you? When's that supposed to be?
Yeah, let's start sharing that. I don't want anybody to leave at the end and not have answered some of the questions, because some of the questions in there are for me just to see how much you liked the webinar and if there's anything that I can help you with.
Okay, let me find that somewhere.
Yeah, it was in my email to you.
Okay, that was
yesterday.
I've only received
a million, right?
I've only received about 1 million today because I sent something out. But there's Veronika. So let me find the ones from you. That would be the poll questions. That would be the. I'm not sure where that is. Okay, let me have a look at that email.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the follow-up questionnaire. Got it. Okay, I should put that into the.
Sure.
Let me just check that out right now. Make sure that is what I think it is.
Yes. And we can also send that out with one more time than with the presentation at the end.
Is that where I think it's going? Well, that's fine. Do that. It's asking me to sign into Google.
Yes, it's a Google form. That's why.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, let me throw it in there and let's see what happens.
Okay.
So that's the Google form that Veronika was talking about is now in the chat. So it's 2:34. Let's take 25 to 30 minutes and,
yes. And then we're back.
And we'll come back.
All right.
Okay.
See you in a minute.